These next two videos will review Pushpak's conventional instrumentation cases. We'll take one case at a time. As the flow diagram shows, we're going to do this before looking at any enhanced irrigation cases. This is Pushpak's case, a maxillary second molar. The best way to get the most out of this exercise is for you to go to the Google group, select Pushpak's folder, and open that folder. Select the folder and pick the SEM folder. And in that folder are all the high-resolution SEMs located by location. So when you open any specific location, all the images from that location are listed. Using the mouse scroll button, you can magnify any image and search any area by using the right-click mouse button to navigate. So you actually can examine all of these images very carefully and in detail, going from one image to the next, and hopefully this will reduce some of the bias that I may have in selecting these areas, because you have an opportunity to examine many different areas. If you recall, the investigator bias in SEM analysis is rampant in this field. So one way to mitigate some of that bias is to have many investigators examine in many different areas. This is Pushpak's tooth, and these are his diagnosis and MTI forms for the tooth. And you can see that he indicated the pulp was necrotic, and although asymptomatic, it was non-responsive to stimuli. The diagnosis page indicates there was a sinus tract and only a thickened PDL. And when he went into the tooth, he did note that it was necrotic, and you can see from his notes, he used sodium hypochlorite, EDTA, and calcium hydroxide. Working lengths were indicated. The master apical files were 20, 20, and 25, and he used 04 and 06 tapers, 06 on the palatal. And looking at the notes, you can see the initial treatment and instrumentation had some positive effect, but eventually the pain got worse, and he decided to extract the tooth, and he sent it to me. And this is how I got the tooth. There was a crown root crack fracture clearly visible, and then when we sectioned it sagittally, as is our method, we didn't get very good sagittal sections on the three roots, unfortunately. I'll go through some of these briefly, demonstrating how I'd like you to look at these pictures. You can see there are areas that are very, very clean, and there seems to be no real smear layer. And when you look carefully in some of these areas, you can see that the peritubular dentin has not been completely demineralized. If you recall from the earlier tutorial, when the peritubular dentin is not completely demineralized, you can actually see the mineralized non-collagenous proteins. If you recall, it is the non-collagenous peritubular dentin that is demineralized much faster than the intertubular collagenous dentin. So these are just various areas, and when you go through these yourself, you'll be able to examine them very, very carefully, because they are all high-resolution images, and you can see there's a lot of debris, and you can kind of see the mineralization front under all the debris. We did measure the canals as well, so you can kind of compare those measurements to what Dr. Pushpak felt his measurements actually were. You can see here the filing produces quite a bit of debris, and you can see it looks like actually some pulpal fibers that are present. In all of my examination, and I spent about 3 hours on this tooth, I did not find any evidence of bacterial contamination at all. Most of it was just very similar to this, instrumentation debris and smear layer debris. There you can kind of see the mineralized smear layer. Spend some time looking at these images, and then I'll take questions on the MIE forum, and we'll get into the nasty little details. Now, this is Pushpak's next case that we'll look at.